Okay, ready? Sound okay? Andrew M. Stroth, S-T-R-O-T-H, Managing Director of Action Injury Law Group, civil rights attorney based in Chicago. I'm here with my co-counsel partner, Julie Murphy, who's with Hart, McLaughlin, and Eldridge. Earlier today, the state's attorneys made a decision not to charge the officers involved with the fatal, tragic, and unjustified shooting of 26-year-old Dexter Reed. While the family is disappointed, this was the decision we expected. As you all know, the threshold to charge criminally is beyond a reasonable doubt. It is such a high threshold and standard that typically officers do not get charged. And in Chicago, there's only been a few occasions where officers have been charged. Jason Van Dyke, Lowell Hauser, among a few others. This case is not about a shootout in the 11th District. This case is about the unconstitutional, the pretextual, and racist stop by officers working the tactical unit in the 11th District. If you look at the Department of Justice report, there's a documented pattern and practice of unconstitutional policing, racial discrimination, and unlawful stops. At this stage, we will continue to pursue on behalf of the Reed family the federal civil rights lawsuit that is pending in federal court. That case will move forward. At this point, I want my colleague Julie Murphy to talk about the actions of these officers in these tactical units prior to the fatal killing of Dexter Reed.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. What we do know from COPA is that the city did know about the pattern and practice of these officers specifically. COPA had complaints in the weeks leading up to Dexter's killing, including on March 1 and March 6, a very similar pattern and practice involving these same officers. They reached sustained findings of misconduct that included detaining vehicles without justification, searching vehicles without justification. And CPD then concurred with these findings and they accepted the recommendations as to penalties against these officers. And these are just a few of the complaints that we know about.
So at this stage, right, we respect yet fundamentally disagree with State's Attorney Eileen Burke's decision today. We will continue to advance the federal civil rights lawsuit on behalf of Dexter Reed. Dexter Reed, 26-year-old black man, shot and killed on March 21st, 2024. And why does the family want to advance this case? They want to advance this case so others are not impacted like Dexter Reed. So we'll take any questions, but that's all we wanted to say on behalf of the family today.
You mentioned something when you walked in about the ISP ballistic.
Yeah, so we do not have, we still are waiting all this time later for the ballistic information. You know, while State's Attorney Burke are talking about this shootout, we have yet to see the objective ballistic evidence that shows that. But let's be clear, this is not about a police shootout on the west side of Chicago. This is about an unjustified, unconstitutional, pretextual, and racist stop. Dexter Reed was stopped for being black on the west side of Chicago. And if the stop didn't happen, 96 shots wouldn't have happened, and Dexter Reed would be alive today.
So is it your take that Dexter Reed did not, in fact, fire first at the officer?
My perspective is we don't have objective evidence that proves that one way or the other. And we should have that information, and the state's attorney, quite frankly, should have that information before making a non-charging decision.
And she said in her statement that she does have evidence, video and ballistic, saying that there is.
Well,
that he fired first, striking the police officer, which was then followed by the 100 whatever shots.
96 shots. We're not really sure that's true, and we haven't seen that evidence. And while they've said that, the Illinois State Police ballistics data has not been shared with counsel for the Dexter Reed family.
On the federal suit, can you give me a status of that? Is that suit specifically related to the shooting or to the tactical program?
Well, it's related to both, but the foundation of that lawsuit is based on the pretextual unconstitutional stop, and that's a Monell case, which is a pattern of practice. We could debate the shooting aspect, but what should have never happened is Dexter Reed should have never been stopped.
You said State's
attorney did say in her remarks that hers is not the venue to address the officers followed their training, whether their training is appropriate. What is the venue for that, and how do you think that will be resolved?
Well, first of all, the only thing that happened today is that the officers are not criminally charged. They could be terminated. Some have left the department. Some have been disciplined. I mean, our focus, the federal lawsuit, as you know, we settled this case several months ago, and then it was not approved by the Finance Committee. This case will cost the city of Chicago $4 to $5 million to defend a pattern and practice lawsuit. So we did reach a settlement. It didn't go through. So we are going to amend our complaint and go forward with this lawsuit on behalf of the family.
The settlement offer, what was that?
The settlement was resolved for $1.25 million several months ago.
Finance Committee
Rejected it, and so we are going to engage in full-blown Monell discovery against the city of Chicago and prove that there's a pattern and practice in this department, especially against black and brown individuals.
You said that you're disappointed but not surprised that they didn't bring charges. Do you believe that this reached a level that they should have been criminally charged for the death of Dexter Reed?
I believe that when you shoot a black man outside of his car dying and you see an officer pump 3 bullets into him after he's clearly not a threat, dying, that's a criminal charge. That's what I believe. Anything else?
Just maybe you could discuss more about the complaints that you allege this tactical team had prior to the shooting. These tactical teams nationwide have come under scrutiny in Nashville and other places as well. Specifically in Chicago, what is your concern about the teams? Is it their aggressive use of force? Is it how these stops are initiated? And what were the complaints prior to the shooting?
It's all of those things. The videos that we've seen, and we've seen many from several different days, it's the same setup playbook by these people. They get out of their vehicle, they box in these cars. They have a reason that's just like here, what we would say pretextual. They say seatbelts later on. They don't give announcement of their office. They don't tell the drivers why they're being pulled over. In fact, in one of the videos, the officer said, all we care about are guns. They ask everyone, regardless of what they're pulling them over for, supposedly, do you have a gun in your vehicle? And then in situations like this, it becomes escalatory where they're pulling on the door handle like you saw with Dexter. There were other videos like that as well.
The videos are body cam or from citizen cell phone video or both?
The body cam are the ones we received from COPA for everything but Dexter. As you know, with Dexter, there was some other videos from the homes that we around the area.
A big part of our settlement that we had in principle was the discontinuation of quotas, where officers have incentives to pull over vehicles for guns and drugs. And, you know, Dexter, I can't say it enough, he should have never been stopped that day. Earlier that day, other officers stopped individuals in similar situations, and as my co-counsel Julie Murphy mentioned, it was a pattern of behavior on the west side of Chicago. And the family, you know, Nikki Banks is never going to see her son again. Dexter Reed Sr. is never going to see his son again. And our goal and the goal of the lawsuit is not money. It's about advancing the rights of black people and trying to create a system so that these things can stop happening.
You mentioned both the consent decree and then also that your lawsuit hopes to show a pattern in practice of these pretextual stops within the Chicago Police Department. Is it your opinion that the police department is not doing enough to live up to the consent decree?
My objective opinion is all you have to do is look at the results and the lack of compliance with the consent decree. I was one of the lawyers that filed Campbell versus City of Chicago that resulted in part in the consent decree with University of Chicago and Northwestern Law. And the fact that CPD all these years later is not following the consent decree while black and brown individuals are getting shot, killed, and injured. And the other thing is we support the police. I'm actually pro-police, but Julie and I are against the unconstitutional and racist and predatory and pretextual behaviors by Chicago police, caught on video.
So I'm sorry, I came in a little bit late here. In your mind, what does this come down to? Is it the stop itself that was wrong and that then poisoned the entire event afterwards?
So, thanks for being here, Charlie. My perspective is we expected the state's attorney today to make the decision that she made, even though we disagree with it fundamentally, especially as it relates to those 3 shots at the end. We're advancing this lawsuit because of the stop. It was a pretextual, unjustified stop. Dexter was driving while black. First they said it was a seatbelt, then it said it was tinted windows. And listen, Andrea Kirsten is no longer with COPA, in part because she came out and spoke truth to power about this case. So Julie and I are going to advance the federal case on behalf of the family in an effort to impact the pattern and practice that's evident in the Chicago Police Department.
Does it make it more difficult because Dexter shot first?
Well, Dexter, we don't know if Dexter did shoot at all. We have not to this time seen the Illinois State Police ballistics. So while there's a narrative out there that he did shoot, and that's what the state's attorney said today, we disagree with that and we don't know. Show us the objective evidence. But this case is about an unconstitutional stop, and this case will cost the city millions of dollars to defend based on a pattern and practice. You know, we want to work with the city to resolve the case, but if they're not interested in resolution, then we will advance the case based on the stop.
Is that tactical team and others like it, do you believe, still operating under the same MO?
You know, we haven't received updated information yet either from COPA as to additional complaints. There was a recommendation that there be some training given to these officers as part of their penalties. Hopefully it's done something to change it.
There's a reason why this case captured national attention. A man was stopped, and they didn't have the right to stop him, and they shot 96 times and killed him, and a family lost their son. So more to come on the federal suit, and thank you very much for being here today. Yep.
Would have been there earlier. Let's step downstairs and secure.
Keep that security. Hey, Julie.